For the second time in a week, the Premier sat down with the head of the Ontario Nurses Association to discuss the major staffing crisis and the cap on wages. And as the ONA continues the battle to get Bill 124 repealed, some are saying the pay gap between nurses and other frontline workers is unfair.
We are all first responders.
It's being described as a dangerous, mentally draining, and physically exhausting job. And after 2 years on the front lines of this pandemic, in many cases, RNs saw their hourly wages go up by less than 50 cents. President of the ONA, Catherine Hoy, is calling on the government for pay parity with other frontline workers like police and firefighters.
We have had more than 20,000 infected healthcare workers in Ontario, and 18 healthcare workers have actually died.
Hoy says the wage gap has been growing over the last 12 years. This data provided by the ONA shows police pay has gone up by about 30%, while nursing wages have risen by only half that. At one point, Ontario nurses went 2 years without any raises, while other first responders saw hikes of up to 3%.
What is that saying about a female-dominated profession versus a male-dominated profession? Looks pretty unfair. No equality there to me.
And compounding the issue is Bill 124. It was passed by the Ford government back in 2019 and caps public sector raises at 1%. All healthcare workers are under that legislation, along with social workers, children's aid staff, and school administrators. And technically, provincial police are too, but their current agreement doesn't expire until after the election.
You know, nurses have said, I have had enough. You need to value the skill set that we bring to the table.
The government says Bill 124 protects taxpayers by keeping the public sector in line with the financial situation of the province. The Ontario Treasury Board tells CityNews that nurses have received the most generous pandemic pay in the country and that public sector employees can still receive salary increases for seniority, performance, and better qualifications.
A lot of policies and practices that are supposedly neutral in some way actually have really gendered outcomes.
Professor Sarah Kaplan specializes in gender and the economy, and while she doesn't believe Bill 124 was intentional gender discrimination, she tells me it does highlight some of the systemic issues within our society.
This is the case often, whether we're talking about corporate downsizing or government caps. We know that you have to do a gender-based and intersectional gender-based analysis on these kinds of policies to understand if you are actually exacerbating inequality when you put them in place. And I think this is an example of a policy that does.
Now, I'm being told the meeting with the Premier went really well today. Hoy tells me that all frontline nurses working in publicly funded facilities will be receiving a $5,000 retention bonus, and that talks on the fate of Bill 124 will continue. Shauna Hunt, City News.